MK party, even the EFF, have no capacity to dislodge the ANC's mission. In other words, they are insignificant. They cannot transform even a village. They have no capacity to do so. On the one,
because our allies is Communist Party, COSATU, and SANCO. Those are our allies. Those are our friends. The DA, EFF, Mkondo Wesizwe, and others are not our friends. Neither are they close ideological today.
How personal is this appropriation of the MK brand by the party that is now led by former President Jacob Zuma? How personal is it for you?
Well, this, I don't want it to come to that level, at personal level, but the bottom line is that in the media space, to start with, when they refer to MK, the MK, its history is eroded. MK is now represented by MK Party, which is less than a year old. And the many people who died in the struggle, in the colors, on the mandate of Mkhonto Wesizwe, those people were prepared to die for the ANC, prepared to die for the people of this country, with the ANC as their instrument that mandates them politically. That includes me. I have no identity now because this identity has been appropriated by a counter-revolutionary offensive for personal interest in this regard. President Zuma working with whatever to establish this, and the courts of this country, including the IEC that has been commended for bringing good elections and so forth, disregarding this history for following basic regulations. Just because the ANC didn't know, somebody didn't say, we didn't know for that matter. If this thing were alerted, we would have opposed it from the first day, that the name of Mkhonto Wesizwe would be used for a political party reason. So, of course, it's personal, but I don't want to make it to come out like that in a platform of this nature, but it is personal to many other MK combatants, including those who died in the battle against the enemy under the banner of Mkhonto Wesizwe. Now this is associated with some political party. The Mkhonto Wesizwe was for the liberation of our people. In fact, the oath we took was for the people of our country. We didn't even take an oath for the ANC under Mkhonto Wesizwe. We took an oath to fight for the people of this country.
And that's a claim that the former president himself, Jacob Zuma, and what you say is the appropriation of the MK brand, the heritage of the MK, and he's now using it for his political party. Yet, this is the same person that you would have been comfortable, or let me not say you would have, whose party you would have been comfortable leading the government of national unity with, of course, via the ANC. Do you disagree with that statement that I'm making?
Well, you are misinterpreting us. When we came out, we said, and I want to clarify this matter from our extended Politburo, we said we'll not prefer whatever coalition setup we make post the elections to work with the neoliberal forces and colonial forces of the DA that represent the extreme force of capital that are responsible for the poverty in this country, for the inequality in this country. The underdevelopment of black communities is a consequence of capital, not of government or the ANC. Poverty is a consequence of capital in this country. So that was the basis, and we said these forces, on the basis of what they represent, we don't share any strategic orientation or know the future with. Right. So they are not our priority people to work with. Then we said we can also work with forces of state capture and corruption, right, that have further damaged the image of the African National Congress, represented fundamentally by those who were pointed out through a judicial process headed by Justice Zondo. In this case, that would have included the MK party.
Right.
But we said, when I went further into public engagement, we said on this question that nonetheless, MK party, even the EFF, have no capacity to dislodge the ANC's mission. In other words, they are insignificant. They cannot transform even a village. They have no capacity to do so. On the one hand, forces of capital who are holding our resources, the wealth of our country, it's in their hands. Because in this country, 1994, there was no class transfer of power. In other words, economic power from the white minority to the black majority. There was a political transfer of power in nominal sense in terms of understanding of political relations. In a sense that political leadership, African black political leadership took over leadership of government, but no class transfer of power. In other words, a majority of people will continue to be subjected to the authority and oppression of capital through, in the main, capitalist economy. So we have not touched that basis. That's the basis upon which we reject, on a major strategic level, the working relationship with the DA. So you can collaborate with, when I said the ANC can afford to be irritated by MK party or EFF and so forth, because those ones have no capacity to dislodge, even if they say so, even if it's their intention. But the DA expresses the interest of capital, which does. That is why capital is holding in excess of trillions of rand at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange from investment in this country, in development. So that's what we're talking about.
But Mr. Mapaila, the people of this country are going to be very confused, just as I probably am right now, that on the one hand, you refuse to cooperate with people who implemented state capture in this country. Yet at the same time, you don't seem to have a problem because you say they can be with government with you, but in your words, they don't have capacity to dislodge the ANC. Therefore, it's okay to be irritated by them whilst you're keeping them close in government, still with possible access to the very resources that were plundered. How does that make sense versus people who will say, this is now capital, we have a vested interest in this country. That's why we have not packed up our bags and left to foreign lands. We still invest in this country. We want to invest in this country, but up until there's a cleanup of government, we can't.
No, Koli, capital has no vested interest of the people of this country. They've got vested interest for profit making and maximizing that profit. That's what they've been doing all these years. They have no interest about the people in poor villages and township, how they live. That is why the single biggest program of social security in this country is launched by government, not capital.
In the SACP, are saying you sold out with this GNU arrangement. They say they tried to steer you towards friends of the revolution, according to the SACP GS. So Mapaila, how do you respond to that? When your own people are saying you sold out?
No, I think there is a ideological conceptual paralysis there.
Yeah.
Because our allies is the Communist Party, COSATU.
Who are saying you sold out?
Our allies.
Yes.
I'm saying there is in that statement, there is ideological paralysis. Because our allies is Communist Party, COSATU, and SANCO. Those are our allies. Those are our friends. The DA, EFF, Mkondo Wezizwe, and others are not our friends. Neither are they close ideological to the ANC, unless it happened whilst I was sleeping. It does not. They are not. To an extent that in the models we have conceptualized post the election,
once we have failed to reach a majority, that who wants to come closer to our perspective. It's another thing altogether. Because there are inherent weaknesses in relation to that conceptualization, that power is given to the conservatives and the liberals, and then instead of the progressive. Progressive, I accept, is a broad word, but at the end of the day, it has got progressive has got its foundation in terms of ideologically and otherwise who come close to you. So to us, anyone call themselves progressive, our progressive allies, ideologically, the people we work with, who are our allies, is the SACP, COSATU, and so on. The others are not. And it's a matter that we need to grapple with the party in the alliance political council,
yeah,
and so on. It's a question of political education and engagement in this regard, because again the word sellout is thrown loosely. I will ask a question to say, if somebody says you have sold out, where does it place you in relation to power? You know, I was at Nahau yesterday, and they sing the song and say, we don't want GNU. I say, very good, nice song. I agree with it. We don't want it. But how did we arrive there? We arrived there because we did not get outright majority. If not GNU, who? Then they answer it by saying you should have worked with black political parties and all of that. Who are those black political parties? Because we gave them a report. After engagement with those black political parties, where do they stand? We did not look for blackness. We looked for GNU to work with everybody and to form government, with the ANC being recognized as the biggest, largest expression of the will of the people of South Africa. All the partners have respected that. They've respected that by allowing us to elect our president, by allowing us to form government with a majority of ministers coming from the ANC. Then the second part you've got to address is policy. Have you departed now from who you are and what you stand for in the context of the GNU? Then if you have departed, then you'll be a sellout. Is GNU then permanent? No, it is not permanent. GNU is not permanent. GNU is a mechanism of addressing how we get out of the moment in which power has actually eluded us.